Guys, welcome back. Maaf, males chat. Yo, kita mau bermain game Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Yang baru datang, terima kasih udah join. Let's go. And 3, 2, 1. Wait. Go. What this?
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Bisa di skip. Oh, settingannya terlalu laju. Mana tadi ya? Kamera sensitif 2 deh. Oh, 2 kelajuan. 1. Oh, what is scam?
All of his co-workers were.
Soundnya kekecilan.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Terbang. Oh, interaksinya. Gak bisa lari kah?
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Apa tadi? Kiri. Nggak mau, aku mau ke kanan.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
What the hell? Left.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
What the?
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Upstairs or downstairs? Up. Kita ikuti narator. What is? Hello, boss.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
What this? Hello. 2428. Oh, itu dia. Nah.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Game kayak gini aja aku merinding, apalagi game horror.
He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Gamanya bisa diatur nggak sih? Gama. Where gama? Terlalu gelap. What is?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It
Stanley
was a
realized he
stirring
was
of
stirring
emotion
for
in his
emotion his
chest,
secret.
as though he felt
No.
more free to think for himself,
Apa
to question the
tujuan gamenya,
nature of his
guys?
job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Tidak menjawab untuk apa itu? Aku nggak paham bahasa Inggris.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Nggak mau.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Apa itu? Mati. Kah? What is? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was
was
inched closer and closer to his demise, he
Mati
reflected
dong.
that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world
Mati dong.
is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this
Bro,
violent end
help me.
to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell Stanley, dadah. What?
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley
Sini
was
stop.
obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Ah! Oh.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance,
What is
death
this?
becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Hmm. Kemana kita? Button sun. Alright, kita ambil ke kiri kali ya. Maintenance room. What is? Narator email. What to the bajunya I am Anthony alias The Office. Ini museum, guys. Maintenance obi. Yo. Kita dikemanain? Exit. Ketawa dia.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
What the hell?
Can you see?
No.
Can you see how
No.
much they need one another?
What the fuck?
No, perhaps not.
No.
Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
No.
But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game.
Where?
As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's
Where, bro?
path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Mati. Know what? Bro? What the hell? Ngulang?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on
Tadi
his
kita
left.
kanan, sekarang kita kiri. Ikutin deh naratornya deh. Halo narator. Sama
Yet
aja.
there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he
Tadi
might
kita ke
come
atas,
into a
sekarang kita ke bawah,
staircase,
ya.
Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Bawa apa?
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss.
Marah
Admitting
dia.
he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone
Satu, dua,
had
tiga,
vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he
Looping
thought to
kah?
himself, maybe I am crazy.
Looping.
All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense.
Looping,
And as
guys.
Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar.
Yeah,
Were they
looping.
simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream.
Ini semua mimpi.
Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons.
still like
I
it,
may as well
yes.
enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Lo terbang.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he
very
remaining so lucid?
Mimpi.
And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and
Nggak paham
thinking?
loh.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by
12
Stanley,
empat.
who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control,
aku nggak
that this
tahu
was a
kemana.
dream. So he
Looping.
closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up.
Ya,
He felt the
tidur.
cool weight of the blanket
Dia
on his
berharap ini
skin,
mimpi.
the press of the
Stanley.
mattress on his back, the fresh air of a
Fresh
world
air
outside
outside
this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please. It's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job, All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
Semua akan baik saja.
I am okay.
No, masih. Dan ini berpikir ini bukan mimpi.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
What the? Habis scream dia gelap. Balik kita.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What this? Kita ganti story.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man
Stanley kah?
who had stumbled through town talking and
Stanley
screaming to
pingsan.
himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Wah, sorry, gara-gara looping. Dah. Looping ini gamenya.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I hate Mondays.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Kita tadi ambil kiri kali ya. Lebih masuk akal storynya.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
What the field? Panda. Nggak ada kemana-mana kita.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy. So he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
Kan lagunya sama ini. Marah dia aku ngeduluanin naratornya. Aduh.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Kita ikutin. ya. Lurus, no escape room.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind
Escape
Control
mati sih
Facility.
tadi. Ya, oke, ikutin.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television
What
screens.
this?
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Itunya hilang. Oh.
Now the monitors jumped to life,
the hell?
their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers.
Ada berapa?
The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
600. Udah 600 CCTV. Kalau kerja di ekspedisi enak nih, kelihatan semua. What is? Hah? What is this?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Itu mau dibawa kemana?
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Ya, kita mau kemana? Kamu cuman bilang itu.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Kita di sini suruh mencari angka itu kah? Angka 1, 2, 3, 4-nya di mana? 4. Oh. Ada. Gelap. Gelap. System power.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
What? No. Salah pencet kah? Bro, gelap.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty.
Ya, blackness.
Was it
Sorry.
over?
Apakah ini sudah berakhir? No.
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him.
Tembus, guys.
This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Stanley bahagia. Ngantuk. Sorry, guys. Duh. Game looping nih. CCTV di sini mana?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ulang.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. What a beautiful room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
What the hell? Ini banyak banget nih jalan ceritanya nih.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Whoa, her. Siapa perempuan?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley.
What? Hello.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
What is it?
Gotcha. Oh, come on.
Fuck
Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Boleh masuk.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Yeah.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Wow.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Please spend time with the boy.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Stanley Parable. Nggak mau, nggak usah bertanya. Tolong. No. 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 Tolong dipencet. Yeah.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Go to sleep, tidur.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me.
He won't stop.
Here,
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
this.
what this?
Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Oke, kita diam. Berapa detik kita harus diam? Tadi aku dimarahin karena pencet huruf E. Nggak ada ngepop.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose.
Ayolah, gerak,
I'll try
gerak.
once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see.
Maybe this
time. And I tried again.
This day.
And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Mati. Ulang dari awal. Oke. Pintunya terbuka.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Biarin, kita nggak usah dengerin kata narator itu. Nanti dia marah sendiri.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons.
What?
Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Kill surprise.
Ya, siapa suruh? Nggak ngasih tahu jalan keluar, kocak. Marah-marah sendiri kan. No.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Kita ke kiri tadi mati.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Let's go. Kita dari tadi gagal. Ayo jalan.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building. Stanley's co-workers, the lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Beri aku jalan keluar.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable.
Dia marah
Wasn't
dari
it?
tadi, nggak
Was it even
kudengerin.
possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself? Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it,
What?
Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. running from
Terus
button
apa?
to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless, to see you made humble. This is not a challenge, it's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice.
Getar gini.
Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Hah? Kita
Wait,
disuruh.
Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken.
Apa yang harus kita lakukan? Ulang lagi loh, new content.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Oh, kita ada jalan baru sini. What this place?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home
13
computers.
tahun.
After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
Keren ya.
Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Terus?
Is it
Ya.
broken? What's
Ada
going on
tombolnya,
here?
kocak.
Should we
Broken
be
ini,
moving
broken.
somewhere? Oh, there we go. All right,
Oh.
finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more
Kita
ready.
naik.
Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Midcon. New
All right.
content.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
New content loncat. Kenapa harus di dalam lingkaran? Dan juga kaki kita nggak ada loh. What?
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Oh, belakang. Just what? Nggak bisa loncat lagi loh. Thank you for enjoying the content.
That's it?
King?
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Loh. Oh. Ganti, guys.
Psst.
Yeah.
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Nggak mau ah.
Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
Ya. Oke.
Oh,
Balik.
never mind. You're not a dork.
Ya. Maaf. Maaf. Jangan marah-marah.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Oh. Dari kantor jadi Elden Ring
I
begini.
call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Don't forget, jangan lupa.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Archip. Beta. Press.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing.
Nothing.
It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Okay.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com.
Review.
The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Katanya serius room tapi
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
wah, not recommend.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more
Ini aku
irritating than
diceramahin dari
entertaining.
tadi.
Unfunny? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web
Hujan.
of profound philosophical
Tiba-tiba hujan
insights
dikit, tadi
that I
perasaan
can't
dalam
even
kantor.
imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Ada yang bisa diklik kah? Bukan game pungut-pungut item kah?
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I?
Preachy.
You
Kau
can tell me if I'm
berkhotbah
preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh,
Yes.
goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These
Kau suka
black marks on my
berceramah.
otherwise
Siapa sih namanya?
unimpeachable track record. I feel
Record.
like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Bawah. Ya ke bawah nih. Ke bawah nggak ya? Tapi ini ada ruangan. Nggak bisa guys, kita nggak bisa ke bawah. Nggak bisa ke tempat lain. Kayaknya kita harus ke bawah deh. OTW.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a
banyak
skip
ngomong.
button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Ya, apa itu?
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll
Kita
pop
dapat
you
tombol
forward in
skip
time
gara-gara
so that the
komenan
second
tadi.
my incessant droning starts to bore you with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue. And it goes...
Di skip.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly. And you can well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof! Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just... Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and...
What? Soalnya udah mati. Nggak ada listrik, nggak ada siapa-siapa. Kita pencet. Habis baterai kah? Tombol skip waktu, skip kajian.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said,
Oh, bye. Pintunya pun hilang. Nggak ada apa-apa loh. Cuman ada tombol. Game apa ini?
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end.
Hello, Stanley. Stanley, aku atau kau?
Is never the end, 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 is never the...
Hello. Ada suara air bocor. Ada air, guys. Mulai bocor. Sepertinya air di luar makin dalam. Oh, hancur. Aku manggil kau Stanley juga kali ya. Stanley, where you go? I need you. Nggak ada apa-apa. Wow, hancur. Lagi kah? Gak ada apa-apa masih. Sampai tumbuh tanaman gitu guys. Udah bisa diambil, skip lagi. What? Suaranya horor. Wow. Apa itu? Hey, tombol. Let's go. Aku takut. Mering. Udah rusak. Tapi di sini udah habis. Duitnya itu jangan keluar. Aku dapat kebebasan. I need freedom. Jadi gurun. Awalnya tadi ini zone apa tadi? Aku pergi. Aku mendapat kebebasan. Wah, baru mau dipanggil Stanley, where you go? Balik lagi. Oh. What?
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Ngulang lagi nih. Udah sampai di sini aja kali ya. Tapi boleh deh, dikit lagi ya. Wow. New content. Tadi udah, kita kesini lagi kah? New content.
Oh good, you noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
What is? Ini ya konten mulu, nggak ada yang benar.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
Kenapa tiba-tiba Stanley Parable 2? Yang ini aja belum tamat.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Bukan PPT sih, ini sejenis contoh logo. Aduh. Oh, dia warna merah. Angka merah, Stanley Parable, 2 otak kiri kanan.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of
The
a
way
fuzzy
to the
magic than
self-flower.
anything scientific or logical, really.
Neo feature. Fiturnya apa? Loncat lagi. Dua. Dih, jalan lewat tali merah gitu. Buset.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Apa fiturnya? The button that say name of the player in the playing game.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the
button
game.
say the
Isn't
name
that wonderful?
of the player that this game.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play
my name
along.
is
I
Jim.
promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Okay, my name is
I
Jim.
want you to imagine yourself... Jim. Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim, playing frisbee on the weekends. Jim. All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Buat marah lagi.
Jim. See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name the button says. But no. Instead, I can't even think about it. I'm taking the Jim button away.
No.
Jim.
Disembunyiin. Oh, kita keluar. Oke, I'm fine. Dia marah, kita keluar. Belum menang, masih yang tadi tapi masih berlanjut.
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2. They would appreciate what I've created here.
Button say Jim. Diubah namanya.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
No, gak mau semua. Happy birthday, happy good. Oh, ini.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along.
Loh.
Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
Aku tadi pencet warna putih. Om gitu. Nih, berubah.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Jump circle.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Nggak bisa. Oke. Kita belum selesai yang di sini, guys. Say Jim or ya kita ini belum. Tapi kayaknya kita sampai di sini dulu. Ini bisa di restart nggak sih? Bukan game sekali tamat kan? Oke, see you next time. See you on top and bye bye.